Hi guys, it's White Dove here again, and today in this lesson I'm going to show you how to set up a vendor. The vendors are the ones that we actually pay money to. Think a bill that you receive in the mail for your business, that is being paid to a vendor. So we're going to go in here and set one up. You'll find that your vendors are over here on the expenses tab. We don't have any set up in this sample company, so we're going to set one up today. This is the screen that you put in all the information for your vendors, and when you get new vendors, I highly encourage you to set them up in here properly from the get-go and not trying to wing it on the back end, because there's multiple reasons why you need to have specific information in here. And if you don't have it, such as your subcontractors or somebody that you're paying money to that you need to track for a 1099, you actually may not have the information necessary by the time it comes January and you're sending out 1099s, and you don't want to try to have to find it then. You want to get this information down and have it available at that point in time. So let's go in here and let's make one for the United States Post Office. And there's no first name, middle name, or last name for the United States Post Office because the vendor itself is just the company. If you have a contact inside of the company for the vendor, then you would want to enter their first name and so on if that's something that you want to do. Down here, it's going to default what we've already entered. So we can use print on checks as the display name. Here's the display name. Or we can uncheck that and we can say United States Postal Service. So if that's the case, then we can say this is going to override the actual display name. Now, if you had the first name, middle name, and last name like Joe Smith, we have an opportunity to pick one of these based on this top information. But if you're going to have it printed completely separately, then you could just use this one. Let's go and add in the actual address, and this is just making something up. All right, so we've got their address, we've got the information, then we can add notes here. If there's something you need to know about this vendor or you want to remind yourself of this vendor, this is the place to put it. Over here, we're going to put an email address. Then if you have any other contact information, you're going to want to enter it here. That way you can have a fully filled out vendor section. If you have a cost rate or maybe a billing rate, terms for this vendor, that is the terms that they give you in order to pay their bill that they sent you, their invoice that they sent you. So if they say, hey, here's your invoice, and you have a net 15 days, you can put it in here and the system will automatically pre-populate everything that you enter for this vendor as these default terms. If you're converting information over from another software, this is where you would put your opening balance, but in our case, when we start it, we usually do not need to worry about that. If you have a general account number for the vendor, then you will want to put your account number in here, because then it's going to print on the memo of all the checks. That way we make it much easier for the vendor to associate our check with it. If you're cutting checks and printing them, it will print the invoices that paid in that check on the stub side of it, but at least this puts an account number in the memo section. That way you are able to let them know if for some reason you don't do stubs or if they lose the stub, where you want this payment to go. If you are tracking this vendor as a subcontractor or anybody that you are paying sending a 1099 to, and it's more than just a subcontractor, there are marketing personnel, there are multiple businesses that you need to be sending this to. If you have an accountant, if you have a lawyer, you need to be sending a 1099 to them, depending on what they filled out on the W-9. So if they sent you a W-9 saying that they're incorporated, then you do not need to do that, but you can still track this information. I suggest you go ahead and enter it when you get the W-9 and track it anyways, because then you're able to pull a whole different report in the long run to see exactly what you paid this vendor. It tracks it for reporting purposes just a little bit differently. If you are tracking and for 1099s and you sent them a W-9, this is a good place on the attachments where you can upload the vendor information that you got from them for the W-9. So when you click on there, as you saw, it's going to open up an area that had downloaded information, so you can pull this in and have all of your information contained. When you're done with that, you hit save and you're complete. If you have any questions, please reach out and let me know. And you can always come to the virtual office hours or send a message inside of Slack, and we will go ahead and answer your questions and help you set up your vendors. I will talk to you soon.